Question 1344. Given the current climate, do you think religion should or even could be banned?
Well, to answer whether or not it could be banned, there have been governments that have banned religion before. Mm-hmm. Typically, for that kind of thing to happen, you have a host of other problems. Yeah. Like the cure is worse than the actual disease in a lot of ways.
The problem is, it seems you've got to have a religion. You seem to be able to ban religion if you have a religion. As in, you can ban all the others and enforce the one. That seems to work. Mm-hmm. But getting rid of all of them doesn't seem possible. Ox says, should, yes, could, never. Doorknobhead says, shouldn't and couldn't.
I look at every attempt to ban religion that I've known of in history, and not one has been successful. I just can't imagine that you could actually accomplish it. There's too many people with too many weak minds that have to have a religion for them to be able to cross the street.
Chad says, no and no, independence of thought is critical. You think we have independence of thought generally?
I think that's probably a failure of, at least in the U.S., the education system. We don't teach critical thinking here in the U.S.
Religion doesn't approve of it.
Right.
The thing, I think to get on, to refer back to Jonathan Swift there and Gulliver's Travels, if we got rid of religion today, our crazy tribalism would morph into something like the big enders versus the little enders. Like people would be getting into wars about what side of the soft-boiled egg you crack.
Yes.
Well, the big end.
You're a big ender.
The air pocket always goes there, and it's easier to peel.
You're weird. Mm-hmm. The little end is always the right way to go.
Depends on how you're eating. If you're going for a hard-boiled egg, I like the bottom, but anywhere can accomplish it.
I mean,
if you're going for a soft-boiled egg, you better do the top because you want to eat out of that thing.
Oh, she's a centrist. You never trust the centrists.
Centrists, boo.
I do agree that people will find a reason to fight over anything. I mean, have you seen the U.S.?
I still can't get over how the US has got has moved to where it has in this level of hatred on the sides in such a short period of time.
It was always there. That's the thing. It was always there. It's just they have been given permission to behave like a bunch of douche canoes. Like racist, horrible, poop spackled fart muppets. They're now being told, oh, it's okay to be this horrible human being, so go out and be horrible to everybody. And they're like, oh, yay, I finally feel accepted in my society as being a horrible human being. So let me act that way now because it's okay. It's always there. It has always been there.
Jen says, politics, at least how I have seen it portrayed from America, is borderline a religion in its own right. And not even in terms of the very life of Christianity.
American patriotism, right-wing patriotism is a religion.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
It's like the football. The Republicans are like, this is my team. I always vote for my team. I don't care if they're a bunch of wife beaters, but I'm always going to show up to that game and I'm always going to be there for my team. That's how, at least in the South, they treat politics like they do Friday Night Lights, like freaking football playing.
But the football is also a sex object to them.
Probably, so they can swat each other on the butts and talk about how, hey, it's all repressed sexuality in all forms in the Southern U.S.
So they can have all the homoeroticism without it being gay.
Which, by the way, that is the number one thing. Homosexual porn is the number one thing that's like searched for in the South.
In terms of porn.
In terms of porn, yes.
Is it really?
But they go shopping as well and things like that.
See, super repressed.
Jen says, we lost it. Ox says, not so much ban it, but more like restrict its power in government. The problem I have with that is, they restricted its power in government in the States, and it works out a way to bypass those restrictions.
Yes.
To morph itself.
Are we talking about religion now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jen says, the only way religion could be banned is if you give something different for people to idolize or worship.
Yeah, I think the way forward is pretty clear. If you make a society that's not so miserable, people won't become religious as often. Less miserable societies have lower religiosity.
Religion is indoctrination from childhood.
And even
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Even here in the States, when you have and I'm going to pull out my New England supremacy card here, is that New England, we're a wealthy area in the country, we're well educated in comparison to the rest of the country, and we're just less religious than a lot of areas in the other country. And I think if you go to Europe too, the same principle holds, is that you have the Nordic countries that are very good healthcare systems. They have good education systems. People feel safe. And when you feel safe, you don't think a lot about God.
That's, and to be fair, to kind of piggyback a bit on that, in the South, you can throw a rock and hit a church, like in any direction. And a lot of the times that's so ingrained in the culture here, whenever there's nothing to do. And if you were poor, you'd go to the church and they'd feed you. If you're poor, if you couldn't afford a gym membership, guess what? There's a mega church down the street that has a gym and you can go for free. You can put your kids there. You got Mother's Day out. So if you're broke and you have nothing, you go to the church and they give you stuff. So yeah, I mean, and that's what a lot of people do out here. And the thing that makes me mad where I live, the smaller churches, they had an ordinance recently in the main city close to where I live, where the smaller churches were no longer allowed to house the homeless during the wintertime. They had to be a certain amount of square footage in order to accept homeless people into their doors. And the smaller churches were the only ones that were doing that. Yeah. The big mega churches, you think they let homeless people sleep in there?
Oh, hell no.
Now,
we have a...
Why would you want the homeless people there?
I know. We have like a church that we call Six Flags Over Jesus out here. It's bigger than a mall. The church is bigger than the largest mall, probably in the state. They have gold-plated columns. Their senators and representatives go to church there. Do you think that they don't let the homeless people sleep there? They have like all kinds of little programs for their wealthy people, but only the mega churches are now allowed to house the homeless, and they don't do it.
Well, Joel Osteen in Texas.
Exactly what I was about to say. Yeah,
did not allow people who were put out of their homes from the flood to go into his church until the media got it.
Yeah, he did eventually. He had to be dragged kicking and screaming into doing that.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly true. And the funny thing about his church, it used to be a stadium for sports.
Used to be Houston Summit, didn't it?
Yeah, and so the taxpayers paid to build that. And so he actually, he didn't have to pay. He got it at like really low market price. And so the taxpayers actually paid for the church that he uses.
I'm guessing that happens far more often than we would like to know. Godless says, yes, but most people love being told what to think and how to feel. Disturbingly, a lot of people do.
Yeah, they do.
It's easier.
It is easier. Dr. Osiris says, when I'm emperor, the teacher always rings the bell to let us know when playtime is over. I'm confused by that. Chad says, I'm a teacher, I teach critical thinking. I can't speak for others. You are also not a teacher in America.
Teach a bunch of farm kids evolution in the Bible Belt and let me know how that goes. 'Cause I done it. I was considered a pretty effective teacher. Believe it or not, somehow I managed that, but that's okay. They still use the tests that I wrote, guys, so that's kind of cool.
Does it have any questions about God?
No, but according to the state, you can teach creationism alongside evolution as scientific fact.
Yeah, but most people are scared to teach evolution in the southern states of America.
The thing is the end of course exams that are 50% of their evaluation, they don't talk about creationism, so none of the teachers really do that. Because,
but the
it's
issue
not on the
is,
test.
it's not that creationism is being taught, though. It's that they're scared to teach evolution.
They are scared to teach evolution, and then they'll sit there and say, I don't believe in this either, but you got to learn it. So many freaking teachers out here do that.
Well, there is an organization called TIES, the Teachers Institute for Evolutionary Studies. It's and they are a group of teachers led by teachers to help people in the classroom to teach evolution.
Amanda Glaze, I don't know if you guys follow her on Twitter. She's Evo PhD. Her whole research is nothing but bridging the gap between religious obstacles in teaching evolution. She's amazing. She's great.
But you get into certain parts of the states. It's just what I've heard. But you got some kids who are almost taught to disrupt the class if evolution's being taught.
They become martyrs.
Yeah.
They do.
They become martyrs. That actually happened to me when I was teaching evolution. My first year teaching biology, boy, that was a gauntlet. So my first year, I had the martyr that would stand up and start screaming and hollering about Jesus. And I actually had atheist students in the classroom who complained about that. So I couldn't win either way. So it was either have the martyr kid, and then somebody posted a sign about atheism on my board, and I didn't see it right away. And it was basically a meme against atheists. And when an atheist kid saw it, so I got called in the office over the atheist kid, but not the martyr kid.
Of course.
And I'm like, I didn't put that there. So, and I wasn't going to say, by the way, I'm not religious either. Because I was teaching. And I had a boss that said, well, we need to teach evolution so they know what we're fighting against. Actually, I had a principal say that.
Okay. I am happy for them to learn it for that reason. As long as they teach evolution properly. It's the one thing that really annoys me. The talking on Twitter, the people that are arguing against evolution have zero fucking clue what evolution is.
Yeah.
I didn't learn it in high school. I didn't learn it until I got into college. I got into college and I took a class on evolution, and every question I ever had about the origin of life was completely answered in one course. And I'm like, why did nobody explain this to me? Because nobody would. Nobody ever did. They just don't do it out here.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy.
It is. Slightly back to the question.
Probably is.
Anyway.
Sorry. Oh, go on.
Yeah, well, back to the question. In China, I don't think they made Christianity illegal outright. But what they did do, they put restrictions on it.
Yes.
In the state church, they weren't allowed to preach, for example, that Jesus was coming back. And what happened was it just pushed Christianity underground. And these home churches, these secret home churches, spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And I think that is what would happen if you try to make religion illegal in any way or restrict it in any way. It would just go underground. You wouldn't get rid of it altogether.
That would be fine if it just gets the hell out of public life and trying to push itself on everybody.
Well, apart from the fact that there is a certain amount of evidence that suggests that Christianity was in no small part or helped in a reasonable degree the fall of the Soviet Union, because it kept this underpinning of secrecy to society by missionaries going in and maintaining this religion, this secret order, that was. And I knew it went on, but I did not realize just how widespread it was.
It seems to me that Christians in Christianity, whether it's Catholicism or any one of the Protestant sects, they like to take credit for things that they had little to do with.
Yeah, they do.
The biggest enemy of the Soviet Union was the Soviet Union.
Yes.
And the incompetency of the Soviet Union.
No, I don't disagree with that.
I'll be right back. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
The,
Everyone's dropping.
I guess it's potty break time.
It is. We'll do the chat quickly. Dr. Asara says, religion needs to be put behind us, in my opinion. It's done nothing but cause problems for everyone. In order to progress as an intelligent society, we can't allow fantasies to distract that. I totally agree, but I don't think you can do it by force.
No.
Is the problem. And I think it's got to be done by
No.
education, but right now we're letting... I mean, the US, we have what is technically the most powerful country in the world that is letting a group of literal, backwards fundamentalists define education policy for the entire country. Through the back door.
I would even say education is secondary to having a good healthcare system, healthcare for all, everyone having a good job, people having money in their pocket, not being afraid of bankruptcy. I'd say that those are more important things to do. And this might be heresy, secular heresy, I'm saying.
I think you might. I promise I don't disagree in a short term.
Yeah.
I think that
No,
you take away the need for you take away the need for hope. And I don't mean that sounds nasty. If you take
it goes back to the old
desperation.
That goes back to the old Karl Marx quote about the religion being the opium of the people, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, to be quite honest, when I was brought up Nazarene, and I've told people that in the past. If you haven't checked that out, go check out that lovely, almost cult-like division of Christianity. And I found it to be a comfort. I mean, I came from a single parent home. My parents split. Yeah. My dad left. He took the money with him. I mean, it was it was terrible. So my mom had to raise 3 kids on a minimum wage job, which had she worked in travel. And so when you have nothing, it's always nice to have like, oh, well, God's looking out for you. Yeah. God's going to make this better. God's going to help you. And so you have that reinforced to you when you're living in poverty. We had insurance, healthcare insurance. So going back with what Andy's saying here, but we never went to the doctor because we couldn't afford it. Because there was always the copays, then there was the deductibles on top of that. So if you got sick, it was going to be at great cost. There were times when I was in high school, my mom had to take my car to work because we didn't have enough money put in the gas tank. Sure. And I had to ride the bus to school then instead of taking my brother and sister to school and all that. So it was like when you have that growing up practically in poverty and all you have is, well, God's looking out for you. You're strong. He's testing you. This is to make you strong. This is to make you who you are. And you're going to be proud of what you, I have had to work for everything I've ever gotten, everything. And people are like, well, you're a college professor now. Like, yes, but you have no idea what I had to do to get here. So it's like, I owe more than my house on student loans, to be quite frank. Let's be honest here. My mortgage is less than my student loans right now. And
very believable. Yeah.
So it's like, and it is even, my mortgage has a lesser interest rate. So we screw poor people all the time. Yeah. And so, but if all you have, you don't have mental health, anything. I had anxiety and depression when I was a kid. Well, probably not depression, but I had horrible anxiety. I still have anxiety, but I have a doctor now because I can afford it. So It's like, but yeah, the healthcare thing is important. People need to be able to eat food that is good for them, nutritious food. We don't need food deserts. Education comes after that. And there's a lot of studies to show that students who eat well perform better in school.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So it's like
2 seconds.
You got all of that.
Thank you very much, Jen.
Communist.
String me up on the street. They'll all pay for it. You guys could sell tickets.
Food. It's novel. But yes, I mean one of the things that was shown to improve the results in the UK were breakfast clubs.
Yeah.
The schools that fed you go in an hour before and they give you a decent breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do that up here too in
but the worst thing is it seems that religion wants to get in on that, and they'll provide that and they'll preach to you at the same time.
Yeah. It's a mess. It's a hot mess, guys.
I missed something. I missed a shitload, but I wanted to know what this was. Never Again says, stop paying federal officials for life and give them free healthcare unless everyone else has it. I think them having access to things that the median does not have.
It's
Seems
Downton
unreasonable.
Abbey, guys. The U.S. is Downton Abbey. And by the way, I've been binge watching that because I finally was able to watch it without going to sleep. So
See, you now know that I don't sound posh.
you do not sound posh, by the way.
Exactly. I don't sound
Oh my
anything
God.
like posh.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, but we have a class system. We do have a class system in the U.S., and that's very, very plain. And you know, and it's reinforced. I mean, it just is. You go to the South, you see the class system everywhere. It's people with the nice houses come from the old money. We have the old money and the new money. I don't know if y'all know those terms, old money and new money.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's new money, bless her heart.
The nouveau riche.
Yeah.
Bless her heart. That's great. That's great.
Or in her
I
current
cannot
song,
believe she wore them shoes after Labor Day, bless her heart. Oh,
Or in her
God.
current song, the line, there's only so far new money can go.
New money and old money. They still do that in the South, man.
So
They
we're pretty
do
much
that
screwed.
pretty much everywhere. There's old money and new money.
Yeah. We are
Yeah.
screwed. We are screwed until we meet the needs, the basic needs of everyone.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. I mean, we have to meet the basic needs of everybody. And we
Communist.
are in a place to where we can do that, and we're not doing it because people are jerks.
Socialist.
just to
You know,
put that.
here in the States, we've created a system that incentivizes bad behavior, and it's been like that at least for the last 40 years. So it should be no surprise that we're the mess that we are in, because once again, the system incentivizes bad behavior.
It
Well,
does.
it's the ultimate incentive that the worst behavior we've ever seen in an
Yes.
adult has gotten. Fucking
Became
president,
president.
for Christ's sake.
And then Brett Kavanaugh, guys, I just got drunk, and I was at a party, just like you always do. You know all about then that kid, that Brock Turner kid, man, his dad's like, why ruin his life over 5 minutes of action? And I'm like,
Boof this, Brock.
oh my
Right.
God.
I'm going to call this question. Basically, we're stuck on we can't ban religion, so we're screwed.
We can't ban religion.
I did
No.
not actually answer this.
So the answer to the question
No.
is, should it be? Yes. Can it be? No.
Go on, Jeff. If you've got another one-word answer, given you weren't here for the start.
Okay, it shouldn't be banned. Quite frankly, they thrive enough on acting like they're persecuted already without actually fucking persecuting them.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to know
Weiner
how much
syndrome?
you could restrict religion in terms of.
It's a war on Christmas over Starbucks cups. That's all I got to say.
Well, I mean, look what Russia did about a year and a half ago with the JWs. They pretty much banned it over there. That's not making it. If it's not going to make Jehovah's Witnesses go away in Russia.
No, but
It's
at the
going
end of the day,
to make them more fervent.
I think you can do away with the organisations.
I'd
which I
love to
think
get rid of it.
potentially-
I'd love to do away with organised religion, but it's
It's not going to happen.
not going to happen realistically.
And then the people in where I live, and I saw somebody had said, Geo Sam said, Christians more often than not always vote Democrat. Not where I live. Not where I live. And they all have guns. So I'm just like, they put them in their trucks.
Right.
I'm not armed to the teeth like my neighbors are.
Christians, on the latest stats are Christians are more likely to vote Republican.
Oh
That
yeah.
that doesn't mean to say that the majority of Democrats aren't Christian as well. It's just
Well, I think it's important to point out Christians and Catholics to play on how some people perceive Catholics and Christianity. I heard, I think it was from 538 podcast, that if a presidential candidate is Catholic, like it was with Joe Biden, even Republicans who are Catholic will vote more for the other party.
yes, he didn't see the outer, but the polls going into it they were going to.
Well, for
More
a
than they
long
would
time, a
normally.
Catholic could not get elected in America.
I just
Ryan?
feel I just feel Chad's pointed out something very important in the chat. He feels like he's learning something.
No, we're not allowed to do that. This is not an educational show.
We have a very strict rule about not being educational here.
If you enjoyed that, please hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. If you think you've got a better answer or just want to tell us how wrong we are, leave a comment down below. Subscribe down here for new questions every day and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on our live shows. If you click over here, you'll see our latest upload. Over here, for what YouTube thinks you'll love the most. And finally, for a complete playlist of all our currently released questions, click here.